Recording in progress.
On, I think it's page Nun Gimel, right? On the bottom paragraph. And we were talking about the pasuk, ציון במשפט תפדה, ושבי הצדקה, that the idea of ציון is not just talking about Yerushalayim, it's talking about the Yidden, but for the Yidden to be considered ציון, that occurs through the three things that says in the pasuk, V'leimer l'Tzion ami ata, through asim dvar beficha, which is the idea of limrat Torah, and through covering you by the shadow of my hand, by the shade of my hand, which is the idea of mitzvahs, and through karbonis, which is the foundation of the heavens of the earth, that brings out that the Yidden are called Tziyah. And this is, the Rebbe is connecting this, and it's behemshach to what the Mamorim speak over there about V'hoyu advarim ha'ela shanoich mitzavcha hayoim, that how can it be hayoim yu beinecha k'chadoshim? We said that hayoim yu beinecha k'chadoshim, that's a result of how do you look at Torah mitzvahs as being new every day. That's through Shema Yisrael and V'ahavta, through being mizboinen in Elokus, through being mizboinen in Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and then coming to V'ahavta. So then that brings about that that the mitzvahs and the Torah are something that are considered new, and it expresses itself, this newness, also in the following three things. That limit Torah, all the mitzvahs, which all the mitzvahs of the Torah were likened to tefillin, with shartam, and then even all our avoidance in these three things should be in the way of chadoshim. That I shouldn't just look at my work that I'm doing, that I'm going to work, let's say, l'shem shamayim, I'm eating l'shem shamayim. It shouldn't be seen as something old. It should be also chadoshim. That's hinted in the words. The idea of my work and my actions is hinted on the fact that the mezuzahs are on the gates of the entrances of your home and your gates, meaning it's your activities, your personal activities, and those personal activities are done in the way of l'shem shamayim chol rechecha de'eyu, and that feeling that permeates them is that it's Hashem's command today to do so. It's not something old, and that comes because of the Yizbanos. So now, once we've explained that the tziyah is something that is brought out by every Yid, that every Yid is in a way of tziyah, we're going to explain how that is bepnimius halev. The Torah mitzvahs that we spoke about is to reveal it, and now bepnimius, really every Yid has this level of tziyah. Again, bottom paragraph of the second page of the mind. The idea of tziyah is explained in the above mentioned mamorim that we spoke about before. It's the inner level of the heart. Until the level of tziyah is like it's brought down over there in the mamorim that we quoted from the Alter Rebbe and the Torah, from the writings of the Arizal, who today is the Arizal's yahrzeit, the 5th of Av. That's the level that tziyah is what it says, from the depth I called you out. So what is this depth that we say that a Yid calls out to Hashem? What are these depths? So he says, it's the spark at the core of the neshama. There's the spark of the created part of the neshama. In that spark of the neshama, the essence, the core of the neshama is enclosed in it, a spark of the creator. That's the level of Yechida, which receives from the level of Yachid. Yechida is the feminine form. Yachid is masculine. Yachid is going on Hashem, who's the only one. There's no one else. There's nothing else. Yechida, who receives from the Yachid, the feminine, that's Makabel, from the Yachid, that is the nitzutz nivra that receives from the nitzutz boire, and that is the mamakim. I think the mamakim in Lashon Rabim, in the plural, that indicates these nitzotzes, these very depth of the heart, that for that the Yidden is called Sion, as we'll soon explain why the level of Yechida and the nitzutz nivra that has the nitzutz boire is called Sion. This is the reason why Yidden are called Sion. Sion means a mark. In modern Hebrew, when we talk about getting a mark on a test, you're saying you get a Sion. Sion is a mark, it's a simon, it's a sign. Now a sign means that it has no metzius of itself. Any sign, Chassidus explains, is only indicating about something else. You see a road sign, or even you see a mark on a test. These are not things that in and of themselves have value. They indicate something else, meaning they are not of any substance and existence independently. So, like the Rashbi said about himself, Ano Simona Ba'alma. All I am is a sign for Hashem, meaning I have no independent mitzias, I'm totally bottled. That is the same reason why Yidden are called Etzion, because they are only a mark for Hashem, they are only an indication for Hashem, they themselves have no independent existence. And this has to do with the level of Yechida. So he says, Ki mitzad b'chinos ha-Yechida, from the perspective of the level of Yechida, kol mitziyusam hi, rak siman de'inyanim shalamayla. Their entire being is not that I have something of my own. My entire being is a reflection of matters of above. I am here to communicate and to bring down and to service things of above to come down here. I have no independent existence. Where is that expressed? In the Yechida. Now, just because I am an expression of the things of above, that doesn't mean I'm weak or I'm a shmata. Just the opposite. Because I stand for things that are greater than me, so I have the full force and power invested in me by that thing that's greater. In Lashon Chazal, that the Rebbe a lot of times brings down, Eved Melech Melech. The servant of a king is the king. Meaning, when the servant of a king comes into the room and he has some type of announcement from the king, so he has the full force and backing of the king behind him, even though he's a servant. But since he's the servant of the king, he's completely bottled to the king. He has the full force of the king, and people need to listen to him and need to follow his directives with the exact same way as if they would be hearing it directly from the king. So that's the Rebbe says the bottom two lines, along with the fact that Yidden's existence is with full force, by saying that a Yid is a simon, a tzion, that doesn't mean that we are of no consequence. No, we are fully strong and powerful. Their entire being and their entire makeup is that they are assigned for the matters of above. The Rebbe is going to bring this from the Rashbi that also said that he's a simon, and not simon ba'alma. K'may Rashbi, for example, Reb Shimon bar Yochai, that they said about Reb Shimon bar Yochai, Shebahai Chibura Dilach, that with this book of yours, with what you compiled, the Zohar, Yavkum Bei Min Golutza, Yidden will go out of Golus, top of the next page, Berachim, with mercy. Shakavona Bezehi. What is the intention when it says that with this thing that you authored, Yidden will go out with compassion, with mercy? It doesn't mean that we should sit down and learn Zohar now. But rather, Shakavona Bezehi, the Rebbe explains the intention of this is Lafotzas Hamayonas the Pnimis HaToida, to spread the wellsprings of the inner part of Toida, Kemoisha Nislapsha B'Toras Chassidus Chabad. The way was enclosed in the teachings of Chassidus Chabad. That is the means to be able to leave Golus. That is the meaning of, with the chibur of the Rashbi, will Yidden go out of Golus, because only the way it's been translated in Chassidus Chabad can it be in a way that's available to us, as he's soon going to explain. How do we know? Perhaps it's just learning Zohar in a Kabbalistic fashion without really understanding. Like the exact expression in Tikkun Zohar, they will be sustained, they will be fed from this book of yours. The Rebbe always explains that what does it mean sustained? What does it mean fed? Like we spoke previously, the difference between food and garments. Food is internalized, ingested, digested, becomes dama basar kipsari. When a person doesn't have the benefit of Torah's Chassidus Chabad, they're only studying Kabbalah without the benefit of bringing it down into Chabad, so it's not really ingested, it's not really digested, it doesn't really become part of our mind and something that's able to influence our heart, because it's something that remains aloof and not understood and not comprehended, not taken in. Only when we take Primus HaTorah and we bring it down to Torah's Chassidus Chabad, then we have it in a way of parnasa, then it's in a way of food, then it's sustenance. It becomes part of us in a spiritual sense of dama basar kipsari. It's digested. And then we can have the full expression of what he says, that Yavkum be'galusa b'rachim, they'll leave Golus with rachim. Anyway, that was parenthetical. So the Rashbi said, Sha'amar is chad ve'anahu. The Rebbe brings us down in Tanya that the Rashbi said, I saw that the Bnei Aliyah is very few, and if Bnei Aliyah are two, people of the elevated stature, so then they are me and my son, Rebbe Lozer. And if they are one, I am him. So what do we see? On the one hand, the Rashbi said, I am all just a sign for above, and yet he had a full understanding and a full power to realize that he is the, like we're soon going to explain, the Bnei Aliyah, the Chsiv, as it says, v'tzadik yisoid olam, that the tzaddik is the foundation of the world, meaning he was saying that the world stands on him, which shows on the full power of his existence. Hainu doesn't just mean this world, but also Shuhuaya Soid the Klals Chol. He was the foundation of all the worlds. All the worlds are resting on the Rashbi's shoulders. This shows what type of powerful Metzias he is. She's a moed al take of Metzias. It shows on his powerful being in his Metzias. Vafal Pikein Amar no Simona Ba'alma. Still in all he said, I am only a sign. How do you come from being such toikif Metzias and such bitl at the same time by saying, I am nothing, I'm only a sign for above? Because his entire being is godliness. Like it says, the statement of Chazal, Man pnei ha'od navaya do Rashbi, who is the face of the master Avaya? That's Rab Shimon ben Yochai, meaning Rab Shimon ben Yochai and the Eibishter are inseparable. And therefore, on the one hand, he has no Metzias. On the other hand, he has the full Metzias of the Eibishter. Now, the interesting thing is, this is something that says about the Rashbi. The Rebbe takes this since every Yid is bepnimis alev, the level of Tzioin. Tzioin is the mark above. But with that, he is with the full power. So the same thing that the Rebbe just explained about the Rashbi, the Rebbe is going to extrapolate and apply every Yid. In a similar vein, actually, it's possible to be by every single Yid. Even such a Yid that's only called as Yisrael by like a nickname, it's a kinui. It might even be a name that he's embarrassed by. The Rebbe is medayik this in a very famous letter of the Frierdiker Rebbe that I wrote in connection with the Geula of Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tammuz. The Frierdiker Rebbe wrote that this was a Geula for the whole Klal Yisrael, it wasn't just for myself. And he goes through the list of all the different people. It's a Geula for, including also someone that's a B'Shem Yisrael Yichuna, someone that's just nicknamed by the name Yisrael, even by someone that looks as the name Jew as just a nickname. It's not even who he is. Even for him, this applies. The same thing that Rebbe says is concerning the Tziyah. this idea that Yidden are considered a Tzion, that's even for those that are so far that they are only considered B'Shem Yisrael Yichun. And the Rebbe brings a raya from the very pasuk that we know that Yidden are called Tzion. Because of like he says in the pasuk, he tells Tzion, you are my nation. There's different ways how he could have identified and said that Tzion goes to Am Yisrael, to Klal Yisrael. He uses specifically my nation. What is the idea of Am? We know Chassidus shows that Am indicates something negative. Even Rashi Chumash speaks about it, that Am is sometimes Asher Yitzeisim Mitzrayim. Rashi says it's talking about the Erev Rav, that when it says it's a negative connotation. The Gam Elu Shem Bechinas Ami, also those are on the level of my nation, Meloshin Gecholim Oimis, from the expression of coals that are dark and that are extinguished. They don't have the full-blown fire that the coals are supposed to make. The same thing it shows on Yidden that are in this way like externally extinguished. So even those Yidden that are on the level of Am, the Eibishter calls them a level of Tzion, a level of a sign. So this is the point that he's saying over here, even though earlier he spoke about Tzion being as a result and brought out through the different avodas of Torah and mitzvahs and karbonis, but deep down everybody, B'Primis Halev, has this level of Tzion, this total bittul to the Eibishter with the full-blown power and strength. We are holding further on page Nun Daled, third page of the Maimer, second paragraph. The simple meaning that Tzion b'mishpat tipade should Tzion koyal ir Tzion. As we said before, the Yerushalmi says, Chazarnu al kol mikra. We went through the entire Tanakh, and the only pasuk that the only place where Tzion refers to the Yidden is this pasuk L'Tzion Yoymar Amiato. So obviously the pasuk in our Haftarah this Shabbos where it says Tzion b'mishpat tipade ושבי הצדקה, learned in its simple pshat, it's referring to the city of Tzion, the city of Yerushalayim, that Hashem says that Yerushalayim will be redeemed b'mishpat and with tzedakah. So if we say that Tzion is referring to Klal Yisrael, so then it's obvious the connection with the other pasuk that says L'Toya Shemayim, L'Sedaretz, or Leimer Tzion Amiata, because they're both talking about the same thing. It's talking about Klal Yisrael. But here the Rebbe says, even if Tzion in our pasuk of our Haftarah is talking about Yerushalayim, we could still connect it with the pasuk about Leimer Tzion Amiata. Gam Pirish Zeh Yesh L'Kasher Makosel L'Toya Shemayim L'Sedaretz for Leimer Tzion Goymer. Also, this explanation of Tzion b'mishpat tipade is referring to the city of Yerushalayim. We can connect with the pasuk to plant the heavens and to found the earth and to tell Tzion that you are my nation. This avoid of karbonis l'ntoya shemayim v'lisodaretz, to plant the heavens and to found the earth. Tuluya b'beis hamikdash davka is dependent specifically in the beis hamikdash. This is connected. The avoid of karbonis. Where do you do it? Only in the beis hamikdash. The Rebbe goes on. The gam shat fil shem connected the karbonis. Actually, is b'chol malkim. Though davening, which davening is in the place of karbonis, does not have this limitation of karbonis, and it doesn't have to be in the city of Tzion. It doesn't have to be in the Beis Hamikdash. Tefillos can be anywhere and everywhere. The Noisef was, in addition to the fact that Gam bezman habayis hayu mispalim b'chol makom. Even in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, we didn't say, we have a Beis Hamikdash. What are you doing davening at home? You got to go daven in the Beis Hamikdash. No. Even in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, we were also davening all over. Now, we could have said like this. In the times of the Beis Hamikdash, since there were the karbonos taking place in the Beis Hamikdash, so now when you daven, you can daven anywhere. But at present, that davening is meant to take the place of karbonos. So, because then it didn't have to take the place of the karbonos. We actually had the karbonos. So davening was just an extra thing. So you can daven anywhere. But now that the davening is in the place of karbonis, maybe it should have the same limitations as karbonis. Also, the present tefillah is the davening that we do now. That's in the place of the karbonis. You're able to daven everywhere, even outside of Eretz Yisrael, and even in a far-flung corner. How come? Why is it possible to daven all over? Seemingly, just like karbonis cannot be done all over, why can davening, which is in the place karbonis, be done all over? So the reason for that is it's because what's being drawn down in davening is not so revealed, even though the tefillahs are in the place of the karbonis, but it's not so revealed. That the Hamshacha was actually revealed. Where do we see this? That a fire from heaven came down and consumed those parts of the karbonis that were placed on the Mizbeach. And the Rebbe says in the brackets that this Gilui did not just impact the part of the carbon that was consumed by the fire, but the rest of the carbon, which in the cases where there were certain karbonis which the Kohanim made, and the person that brought the carbon, the Baila made, was also influenced and impacted by the fire that came down from heaven. This fire that came down in Hashemayim to consume the karbonis also affected and influenced the eating of the Kohanim of their part of the carbon that they were eating, and the eating of the owners of the carbon of their part of the carbon that they ate. So all of this revelation, this revelation is dependent on the Beis Hamikdash. So that's the reason why, when it comes to davening, which is in the place of karbonis, it can be done all over because it's not something that is revealed, whereas the karbonis, it's revealed, and therefore it's limited to the place of the Beis Hamikdash. So the Rebbe says, fine and good, but isn't there an advantage and a specialness of the avoid in the time of Golus over the Beis Hamikdash? Though there's an advantage of the avoid of the time of Golus over the time of the Beis Hamikdash. And in the time of Golus itself, there's an advantage of Bafrat because of the Mashiach, especially in the times of the heels of Mashiach, the times right before Mashiach's coming. Where do we see this? Like it's known al pasuk. Chassidus explains what does it mean that Moshe Rabbeinu was more humble than any person on the face of the earth. It doesn't just mean in his generation, but Moshe Rabbeinu saw and was shown all the generations from his time till the end of times. And then when he saw the times of Mashiach's times, the times before Mashiach, that was his humility. The humility of Moshe Rabbeinu, that he felt humble, was primarily from the avoid of the Yidden in the generation of the heels of Mashiach. It says that Moshe Rabbeinu saw the midah of truth. And that was what Moshe Rabbeinu was about. He was the midah of truth. That was what he was about. So therefore, it's understood, it's true that way. He wasn't just, his humility wasn't a false humility. There's a concept of called shiflus shel sheker. We know that Moshe Rabbeinu did not have a false humility. So if he felt humble before the generation of the heels of Mashiach, that means that there is a mile in our generation over every previous generation, the times of the Beis Hamikdash and the times of Moshe Rabbeinu. There's an advantage in the avoid of the generation of the heels of Mashiach over the avoid of Moshe Rabbeinu. To such a degree that Moshe Rabbeinu receives from the generation of the heels of Mashiach. Where do we see this? Moshe Rabbeinu said the 600,000 foot soldiers, the legs of the people that I am amongst them. In the simple meaning of the pasuk, it means that the Moshe Rabbeinu was amongst 600,000 people. That Chassidus explains that thanks to the foot soldiers of the people, thanks to the Ragli Am, the Anoichi of Avaylakecha, the Anoichi of Hashem was Bekir B'Shal Moshe. Why did it shine into Moshe Rabbeinu, the level of Anoichi? Thanks to the Ragli Am, the Bechinas Anoichi Shemeir B'Moshe, the Ragli Am, the level of Anoichi that's shined in Moshe, that's through the legs of the people. And the legs of the people include also the ultimate legs having to do with Ikvus of the Mashiach, with the heels of Mashiach. Us, that we are legs, not just in comparison to Moshe Rabbeinu in that generation, we are the legs, the heels of the entire generation of Klal Yisrael. Our generation is called the heels, the lowest level. So we contribute and cause that the Anoichi comes down within Moshe because of our legs. So what are we saying? That there is the specialness at the time of the Beis HaMikdash, that only over there we could be bringing the Karbanos. You can't bring the Karbanos outside of Tzyon, outside of Yerushalayim. Seemingly, we see that the time of Golus has advantages over the time of the Beis HaMikdash, even advantages over the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Rebbe says, Afal became still in all, Inyan Hagili B'Poel Mamish, the actual revelation, that there should actually be revealed in the physical world, that the fire comes down in the physical world from heaven. So such a type of revelation can only be in the Beis HaMikdash. This is the connection, that it says that the founding of the heaven, the planting of the heavens and founding of the earth, this is going on the Karbanis, Shal Yod Miskayim Mechuk Shemayim V'Aretz, that through the Karbanis it exists and goes on the laws of heavens and earth, that the world keeps on existing. The connection between the Karbanis, Le'ir Tzion, Zu Yerushalayim, to the city of Tzion, which is Yerushalayim, as we said before, Tzion, going on Tzim and Mishpat Tefda, because the Beis HaMikdash, that's a home for the Eibishter, ready to offer it Karbanos, like the Rambam says, is only in Yerushalayim. So therefore, that's the connection between Tzim b'Mishpat Tefda going in Yerushalayim and the pasuk about Avodas HaKarbanos l'Ntoy Shemayim v'Lisei Doretz. So the Rebbe concludes, El Sha'afal became, despite the revelation being only in the place of the Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim, all the B'Tzayin is Baruch Sheyechra Abayis v'Yisrael Yu B'Golus. It arose in Hashem's will that the Beis HaMikdash should be destroyed and Yidden should be in Golus. Ubefrat b'Ikvus of the Mashiach, especially in the heels of Mashiach. Shemtzad Riboy HaNisyonis Menias v'Kuv V'Chol, because the many tests and obstacles and blockages, Klolos Avodas Oz Gam Avodah Torah Mitzvahs B'Dugim Satshuva. The general avodah then in the time of Golus, even the avodah of Torah mitzvahs, is similar to tshuva, where tshuva we refine and elevate the lowest sparks that fell into Shalosh Psat It's the same thing. Whatever we do in the time of Golus is like the avodah of tshuva, to elevate the lowest sparks. Shemavareres Gaman Nitzotzes Shenafel Lamata B'Yoseh, refining even the lowest sparks. And all the descents that they are for the sake of an ascent was for the sake of the avodah. That's in the generation of the heels of Mashiach. Shuador the Akshav, it's the present generation. He established a testimony in Yankov, and he placed the Torah in the Yidden, Laman Yedu Doir Achron, so that the final generation should know. That means that the whole avodah up till now is to reach that our generation should know. That's this present generation. It's the final generation of the exile. And the first generation of the redemption should David speedily. It will rise a king from the house of David. Even the Mikdash build the base of Mikdash in his place. He will gather the scattered Yidden. Even those sparks that fell the lowest. Even those sparks that are like pushed away and scattered and so on, which is symbolic of gathering all the scattered things, Yisbaru v'Yisalu, will be refined and be elevated. Ha'is lavayim luchot should be for Hashem, the kingship. The true and complete redemption through Mashiach, speedily, immediately.